visto gli highlights, perché ieri notte stavo a sentire per radio, sono crollato sul gol l'ho sentito, però non ho sentito il gol di Scamacca.
No, il primo ho sentito
visto
io.
Gli highlights. Ha fatto un gran gol. Ma si sono accorti subito che era fuori gioco, ci hanno messo il
No, ci ho messo a fare, quindi un po' adesso il Papa con la mi raccomando di Elena di non usare
facciamo così, riprende tutto questo qua.
Laudetur Jesus Christus, praise be Jesus Christ. Welcome to our continued coverage of Pope Francis's apostolic visit to Slovakia. The Holy Father Pope Francis arrived in Slovakia last evening, and he will be in this traditionally Catholic country of Central Europe till Wednesday. I'm Father Paul Samasumo on behalf of Vatican Media. I'd like to welcome all of you joining us for this live broadcast on television or radio. Welcome to our television viewers and radio listeners of Catholic TV, Catholic Faith Network, EWTN TV English, Shalom World Networks in the US, Shalom TV India, Salt and Light TV, Art Madashan TV, Luminous Radio India, Radio Maria in Papua New Guinea. And welcome to all of you joining us for this live broadcast in various languages on our various media channels, such as Vatican News website and Facebook and other social media channels. The apostolic visit of Pope Francis to Slovakia has been described by himself as a spiritual and pastoral visit. Right now, the president of Slovakia, Zuzana Čaputová, addressing the Holy Father, Your Holiness, dear Pope Francis, dear fellow citizens, when I met you a few months ago, you told me that you have Slovakia in your heart. Hopefully, these few days with us will give us the new opportunity to show you that you as a person, your spiritual calling, and your thoughts have a place in our hearts as well. I also have these words of yours in mind. One could say today we are not living an epoch of change, but so much an epochal change. After the fall of communism, our country also went through and is still going through a period of great change. Czechoslovakia was peacefully divided into two states where two brotherly peoples, the Slovaks and the Czechs, live in mutual respect and cooperation. Slovakia is a strong member of the large family of democratic states in the European Union. This offers us important international guarantees for our security and prosperity. Christianity and Catholic Church and the Catholic Church have been an essential part of our cultural identity for centuries. We welcome you, however, not only as a representative of one of the largest religious families on this planet, but also and above all as a source of inspiration, which is necessary for the future of humanity, for the future of our Slovakia, and for the future of Christianity in it. It is really important how you proclaim the message of the gospel in our age, not only as something that's just a legacy of priests, but you present the gospel as a journey that transforms our present and points us towards tomorrow. Our world today is united in many ways, yet it is also tragically divided. Every crisis, including pandemics, brings strong words and gestures of strength. Increasingly, quiet tones, openness, and understanding are seen as manifestations of weakness. It is as if we are gradually getting used to the fact that the result of human endeavor or discussion is both social and political spheres must be the defeat of those who do not share our opinions. Yet, if this epochal change in us is to be the beginning of a better future, we must change our approach. The outcome of every purpose, every social debate, every political competition should not be victory or defeat, but understanding and acceptance. The world faces many crises, and the only way to overcome them is through cooperation. All we really need is the spirit of humanity, the realization, looking at any one of us, that you are me and I am you, that we are one. We must have the courage to express our humanity. We can only live together, and without showing mutual understanding and acceptance, we will not succeed. Your Holiness Pope Francis, we welcome you to Slovakia as one of the greatest moral and spiritual authorities of humanity today. Your way of proclaiming the gospel and your personal example of morality are an appeal also to those who are far from the visible boundaries of the Catholic Church. You call for humility, mercy, and human fraternity. You call for a new culture of politics and a new ethics of economics. In your social encyclicals, you warn against the greatest dangers of our time: populism, national egoism, fundamentalism, and fanaticism. You clearly speak out against all those who want to exploit religion for political ends. Your emphasis that the core of the gospel is to help the needs, the homeless, those who war, terrorism, and poverty drive out of their countries. You repeat on many occasions that any form of anti-Semitism and religious intolerance is irreconcilable with Christianity. I also recall the words you spoke in one of our conversations. You said, God always forgives. We humans forgive from time to time. Nature no longer forgives. I agree with you. And in order to survive, we must once again learn to be sensitive to our planet, which used to whisper and now cries out to us that it cannot bear us any longer because we are too heavy. We must look at the causes and consequences of all the climate crisis as a problem for all of us and seek shared solutions. Your Holiness, we are grateful for your visit to Slovakia. Fatal struggles for survival, dignity, language, individual and national freedoms, recognition, tolerance of minorities, preservation of faith, but also biodiversity constitute our heritage. Although we have made mistakes and suffered defeats, we have managed to rise again. This was the case during the Slovakian national uprising and also in November 1989. You come among friends and generous people who honor their traditions and their land, and whole generations of parents and grandparents have an inscription in the decor of their homes. Guests in the house, God in the house. Your Holiness, dear Pope Francis, welcome to Slovakia. And now Pope Francis will address the authorities, civic society, and diplomatic corps, members of the diplomatic corps who are meeting here in front of the presidential palace, in the presidential palace garden. He has a full day ahead of him today. We're saying at the beginning that Pope Francis is saying that he is on a spiritual and pastoral visit to Slovakia. Madam President, members of the government and the diplomatic corps, distinguished civil and religious leaders, ladies and gentlemen, I am grateful to President Zuzana Chaputova for her words of welcome in your name and in that of the entire nation. In greeting all of you, I express my joy to be in Slovakia. I have come as a pilgrim to a young country, yet one with an ancient history, a land of deep roots situated in the heart of Europe. Truly, this land is and has always been at crossroads. It is an outpost of the Roman Empire and a point of encounter between Western and Eastern Christianity. From Great Moravia to the Kingdom of Hungary, from the Czechoslovak Republic to the present day, you have overcome numerous trials and attained integration and distinctiveness through a fundamentally peaceful process. 28 years ago, the world followed with admiration the peaceful emergence of two independent countries. This long history challenges Slovakia to be a message of peace in the heart of Europe. That calling is evoked by the great blue stripe on your flag, which symbolizes fraternity with the Slavic peoples. Such fraternity is necessary for the increasingly pressing process of integration, all the more so in these days when, after long and trying months of the pandemic, fully conscious of the difficulties to be faced, we look forward with hope to an economic upturn favored by the recovery plans of the European Union. Yet, there is always the risk of succumbing to the impatience and the lure of profit, leading to a fleeting sense of euphoria, rather than bringing people together. This proves only devices. Nor is economic recovery by itself sufficient in a world that is itself at a crossroads, in which we are all interconnected. Even as battles for supremacy are waged on various fronts, may this country reaffirm its message of integration and peace, and may Europe be distinguished by a solidarity by transcending borders, can bring it back to the center of history. Slovak history has been marked indelibly by the faith. It is my hope that that faith, by its very nature, will encourage projects and feelings inspired by fraternity, drawing upon the epic experiences of the Holy Brothers Saint Cyril and Methodius. They worked to spread the gospel at a time when Christians of this continent were united. Today, they continue to unite the different religious communities in this land. Cyril and Methodius identified with all and sought communion with all, Slavs and Greeks, Latins and alike. Their faith found expression in a spontaneous openness to others. This is the legacy that you are called to preserve, so that in our time, you can be a sign of unity. Dear friends, may your hearts always cultivate this vocation to fraternity, along with your native gifts of warmth and sincerity. Hospitality is extremely important to you. I am struck by the Slavic custom of offering bread and salt to visitors as a sign of welcome. I would like to reflect with you on these simple yet precious gifts so rich in evangelical meaning. Bread. God chose bread to make himself present in our midst. Bread is something essential. Scripture commands us not to hoard bread, but to share it. The bread, this is a powerful message for our life as a community. It reminds us that true wealth does not consist simply in multiplying things we have, but in sharing them fairly with those around us. The broken bread speaks to us of frailty. It demands that we take special care of the vulnerable in our midst. No one should be stigmatized or suffer discrimination. Our Christian way of looking at others refuses to see them as burdens or a problem, but rather brothers and sisters to be protected and protected. Bread, broken and equitably shared, reminds us that of the importance of justice, of giving each person the chance to find fulfillment. We need to cooperate in building a future in which laws are applied fairly to all, based on a system of justice that is not for sale. If justice is not to remain an abstract ideal, but to be a real bread, a serious battle against corruption must be undertaken, and above all, the rule of law must be promoted and must prevail. Bread is also inseparably linked to an adjective, daily. Daily bread means daily work. Just as without bread, there is no nutrition, without labor, there is no dignity. At the basis of a just and fraternal society is the right of each person to receive the bread of employment, so that none will feel marginalized or constrained to leave family and homeland in search of a better life. You are the salt of the earth. Salt is the first symbol that Jesus used to teach his disciples. More than anything, salt gives flavor to food. It reminds us of the flavor of our lives, the flavor that our lives need, if they are not to become tasteless and insipid. Organized and efficient structures will not suffice to improve our life as human community. We need flavor, the flavor of solidarity. Just as salt gives flavor only by dissolving, so society rediscovers this flavor through the gratuitous generosity of those who spend their lives for others. It is good for young people in particular to be encouraged in this, to feel that they have a share in shaping the future of their country, so that they can take it to heart and enrich it in history with their dreams and their creativity. There can be no renewal without young people, yet they often end up being disenchanted by a consumerism that makes life bland and dull. In Europe, all too many people live lives of weariness and frustration, overwhelmed by the frenetic pace of life and incapable of finding reasons for inspiration and hope. The missing ingredient is concern for others. When we feel responsible for someone else, this gives flavor to our lives and enables us to realize that what we give away is really a gift we make to ourselves. At the time of Christ, salt gave flavor, but it was also used to preserve food, to keep it from spoiling. It is my hope that you never allow the rich flavors of your finest traditions to be spoiled by superficiality or consumerism and material gain, or by forms of ideological colonization. In these lands, until just a few decades ago, a single thought system stifled freedom. Today, another single thought system is emptying freedom of meaning, reducing progress to profit and rights only to individual needs. Today, as then, the salt of the earth acts not by reacting in worldly terms, by engaging in culture wars, but by quietly and humbly sowing the seeds of God's kingdom, especially by the witness of charity. Your constitution expresses the desire that the country be built on the legacy of St. Cyril and Methodius, patrons of Europe. Without impositions or pressure, they enriched culture by the gospel and thus set in motion beneficial processes. This is the path to follow, not the battle for influence and position, but the road pointed by the saints, the road of the Beatitudes. For the Beatitudes are the inspiration for Christian vision of society. Saint Cyril and Methodius also showed that preserving what is good does not mean repeating the past, but being open to the newness without ever losing one's roots. Your history abounds in writers, poets, and men and women of culture who were the salt of the country. Just as salt burns when placed on wounds, so their lives often had to pass through the crucible of suffering. How many illustrious men and women endured imprisonment, yet remained interiorly free, offering a radiant example of courage, integrity, and resistance to injustice, and most of all, forgiveness. That is the salt of your earth. The pandemic is the great test of our own time. It has taught us how easy it is, even when we are all in the same boat, to withdraw and think only of ourselves. Let us instead set out anew from the realization that all of us are frail and in need of others. None can stand apart either as individuals or as a nation. May we take up the challenge of this crisis, which only makes it all the more urgent that we rethink our styles of life. It is useless to have recriminations about events of the past. We need to roll up our sleeves and together work to build the future. I encourage you to do so, lifting up your eyes as when you gaze upon your splendid Tatra mountains. There, amid forests and mountain tops that point heavenward, God seems more close and creation appears as an unspoiled home that over the centuries has sheltered one generation after another. Your mountains combine in one range a variety of peaks and landscapes, spilling over national borders in order to join together in a beauty of different peoples. Cultivate this beauty, the beauty of the whole. It requires patience and effort, courage and sharing, enthusiasm and creativity. Yet it is the human work, blessed by heaven above. God bless you. God bless this land.
Slovensko.
God bless Slovakia. The Pope speaking there in the local language. God bless Slovakia, as he concludes a very powerful message for the people of Slovakia. Earlier, we had a speech from the President of the Republic, Zuzana Chaputova, and she also spoke passionately about what the Holy Father stands for and his message. One of the early events of the morning, and Pope Francis has a very long day ahead of him today. He will be in Slovakia until Wednesday. He has told us himself that he's looking forward, especially to making a pilgrim to Our Lady of Sorrows of Slovakia. This is going to do on the last day, on Wednesday, that is day after tomorrow. He will go to Shashkin. In the city, there is the image of the Virgin Mary, who has attracted many pilgrims for decades. Pope Francis has a special devotion to Our Lady of Sorrows. Shashkin was also a favorite destination for Mother Teresa and Saint Pope John Paul II. The image of Our Lady of the Seven Sorrows is a figure that is so immense and incorporated and has been so for the people of Slovakia. And that brings us to the end of this live broadcast. Pope Francis has just concluded a meeting Slovakian authorities, civil society, members of the diplomatic corps at the presidential palace in the capital of Slovakia, Bratislava. I'm Father Paul Samasumo, and on behalf of Vatican Media, thank you all for joining Pope Francis on this apostolic voyage to Slovakia. There are many other papal events lined up today and tomorrow that we shall be covering as we follow Pope Francis's apostolic voyage. Do join us for some of them if you can. Allow me, before I go, to acknowledge our television and radio listeners of Catholic TV, Catholic Faith Network, EWTN TV English, Shalom World Networks in the US, Shalom TV India, Salt and Light TV at Madashan TV, Luminous Radio India, Radio Maria in Papua New Guinea. Remember, on our website, vaticannews.va, you can find more details about the apostolic voyage to Slovakia. Enjoy the rest of your day. Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praise be Jesus Christ.
you tuning in through various Vatican media channels, the Vatican Audio Live Events app, the Radio Vaticana app, the Vatican News web portal, English YouTube channel, or many of you through our Facebook Live feed. To all of our television viewers out there, a most warm welcome to all of you tuning in throughout the world, some through Catholic TV, Catholic Faith Network, Shalom World TV, EWTN, Salt and Light TV, Shalom TV India, our Holy Father greeting with a wave now, some of the people who were waiting for him in front. We have other television viewers through Atmadarshan TV, but we also have radio listeners out there too. We'd like to welcome you as well. We have some tuning in through Radio Maria in Papua New Guinea and others through Luminous Radio and other local radio stations picking up the broadcast. My name is Sister Bernadette. It's a pleasure to be providing for you the English texts and commentary this morning. Our Holy Father receiving the blessed water and blessing the cathedral as he walks in. Our Holy Father came to Slovakia yesterday evening after visiting Budapest in the morning and concluding the Eucharistic Congress there. This is our Holy Father's second public event this morning. He just came from meeting the civil authorities after paying a courtesy visit to the President of the Republic. He met with civil authorities, members of civil society, and the diplomatic corps, and then came by car the short 2 kilometers here to St. Martin's Cathedral, situated on the western border of the historical center below Bratislava Castle. It's the largest and one of the oldest churches in Bratislava, known especially for being the coronation church of the Kingdom of Hungary between 1563 and 1830. Our Holy Father has been welcomed by the Archbishop Stanislav Zvolensky, whom we will hear from. He now receives flowers from a seminarian and a sister who is a catechist. And he's now going to place these flowers before the Blessed Sacrament. Holy Father, having offered the flowers and spending a few moments in prayer, now heads to the altar. We will hear a greeting from the President of the Episcopal Conference, who is also the Archbishop of Bratislava. We see the entourage accompanying our Holy Father behind. As everyone now takes their seat. We now hear from Archbishop Zvolensky on behalf of the Episcopal Conference.
Aby som vás čo najsrdečnejšie privítal v katedrále svätého Martina.
Allow me to give you a cordial welcome in this Cathedral of St. Martin in Bratislava.
Jedinečná česť a radosť pre nás všetkých, pre biskupov, kňazov, diakonov, zasvetených.
It is a tremendous honor
že ste prišli medzi nás, náš svätý Otec.
It is a tremendous honor and a great joy for all of us, bishops, priests, deacons, consecrated men and women, catechists, that you have come among us, our Holy Father, to encourage us with your presence and to strengthen us in the faith. Our hearts quiver with emotion, just like the moment when the Supreme Pontiff, St. John Paul II, entered this place of worship many years ago. You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Today, these words of Christ, that we all know so well because we have heard them many times, ring clearer for us. We more easily perceive their meaning, since today we have Peter among us. For with you and in you, Your Holiness, in this cathedral we welcome the Vicar of Christ, the successor of St. Peter. And for us it is a most treasured visit, awaited with joy. Your presence makes us feel the universality and unity of Mother Church. And it makes us better comprehend that even in our time, the Lord God has chosen a leader among the apostles and has entrusted to him the keys of the kingdom. The people of Slovakia have always loved and respected the Holy Father. And they love and respect Pope Francis. Every day we ask the Lord's help for you, praying, even singing. We always seek to know and better understand what Peter tells us today. This is why I am so happy that you are here in person with us, and thus we will be able to listen to your words much more closely. I am sure this experience will help us give better testimony to the Evangelii Gaudium, to the joy of the gospel in today's world. Yes, Holy Father, already with this first apostolic exhortation that you wrote to us, we have perceived your love for the poor, for those who live on the margins, those who have been left behind, abandoned, discarded. Precisely in that perspective, we have tried to reconsider in new ways the examples of our saints, like St. Martin, the patron of this cathedral, who did not hesitate to share his mantle with a poor person, even though he himself was left with hardly anything to protect him from the cold. And in that poor person, St. Martin met Christ. We are here this morning with you, Holy Father, representing consecrated persons and lay people as well, proclaimers of the gospel. Due to circumstances, everyone cannot be here. Of course,
Buonasera a tutti voi. Salutare. Buonasera.
Dobrý večer všetkým.
Sono contento di visitarvi, di essere tra voi. Sono molto contento. Grazie di ricevermi.
Som veľmi rád, že môžem byť medzi vami. Ďakujem, že ste ma prijali.
E ringrazio tanto le suore, il lavoro che fanno, lavoro di accoglienza, di aiuto, di accompagnamento. Grazie tante.
Ďakujem veľmi sestrám za všetko, čo robia, za to sprevádzanie, za to prijatie sestrám.
Anche ringrazio le mamma e papà che sono con i ragazzi e ringrazio tutti i ragazzi di essere qui in questo momento.
Ďakujem všetkým otcom, mamám aj všetkým deťom, že sú tu v tomto momente.
E anche il Signore è con noi. Quando noi siamo insieme così felici il Signore è con noi.
A keď sme takýto radosní, tak aj Pán je medzi nami.
Anche è con noi quando siamo in momenti di prova, mai ci abbandona. Sempre il Signore è vicino a noi. Possiamo vederlo o non possiamo vederlo, ma sempre ci accompagna nel cammino della vita. Non dimenticare questo, soprattutto nei momenti brutti.
A keď sme aj v skúške, tak Pán je vždycky medzi nami. Nikdy nás neopustí, nikdy na toto nezabudnite, hlavne v takých ťažkých chvíľach.
E grazie tante, grazie tante.
Veľká vďaka.
Taki Shut
Preghiamo insieme, io vi darò la benedizione.
Teraz sa pomodlíme spolu, zdravá Mária, a potom vám dám požehnanie.
Ave Maria,
Zdravá Mária,
piena di grazia, Signore è con te, tu sei benedetta
medzi
fra le
ženami.
donne e benedetto è
Požehnaný
il
je
frutto
plod
del tuo
života
seno, Gesù.
tvojho Ježiš.
Santa
Sveta
Maria,
Mária,
Madre
Matka Božia, pros
prega
za
per
nás
noi
rieš,
peccatori,
teraz
adesso
i v hodinu smrti našej. Amen.
vi benedica Dio Onnipotente,
Váže našemu
Padre,
si Boh Otec,
Figlio,
Syn
lo
i Duch
Spirito
Svätý.
Santo.
Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praised be Jesus Christ, and a most warm welcome to all of you as we come to you live from Bratislava in Slovakia. We're here in Rybné námestie Square, where Pope Francis will be meeting with the Jewish community. This is his second day of his 34th Apostolic journey. His first day yesterday in Budapest, and later he flew to Slovakia and has spent the day today in Bratislava. Before continuing, I'd like to welcome all of you on behalf of Vatican Media and Vatican Radio from wherever you may be joining us throughout the world, whatever part of the day you're joining us. We know some of you are tuning in through various Vatican Media channels, through the Vatican Audio Live Events app, the Radio Vaticana app, the Vatican News web portal, the English YouTube channel, or the Facebook Live feed. We see the Holy Father driving his motorcade now, reaching the square. And we have television viewers out there. A warm welcome to those of you tuning in through Catholic TV, Catholic Faith Network, Shalom World TV, EWTN, Shalom TV India, Sultan Light TV, at Madarshan TV. And to our radio listeners out there, a warm welcome to you as well. Some of you tuning in through Radio Maria in Papua New Guinea, and Luminous Radio, and still others from other local radio stations picking up the broadcast. My name is Sister Bernadette, and I'll be providing the English texts and commentaries. We hear those in the background, welcoming our Holy Father to this Rybné námestie Square, which is located in the heart of the old part of Bratislava, near the Cathedral of St. Martin, where our Holy Father was this morning. This is where the Neolog Synagogue stood, and it was demolished in 1969 by the communists. Our Holy Father now meeting with the chairman of the Central Union of Jewish Religious Communities in the Slovak Republic, Richard Duda. We'll hear from him a little later. The Jewish community that frequented the synagogue that stood here was founded in 1871. People now taking their seats. Our Holy Father sitting now on the stage. This also serves as a Holocaust memorial, since the majority of the Jewish people in Bratislava perished during the Second World War in the Shoah.
Vaša Excelencia, Pápež František, drahý preživší holokaust.
We now hear from Richard Duda, chairman of the Central Union of Jewish Communities in Slovakia.
V strednej Európe, založenej na kresťansko-židovských tradíciách, existujú miesta zhmotňujúce symbiózu.
In Central Europe, which is founded on Judeo-Christian tradition, there are places that incarnate the symbiosis between Christians and Jews. In Bratislava and in all of Slovakia, there are many of these places. We are in a city where emperors and empresses were crowned in the cathedral, and where one of the most important personages from Judaism worked, Rabbi Shatam Sofer, known throughout the world. And we find ourselves exactly in an extraordinarily symbolic place. It is filled with historical memory. Here, the Christian and Jewish places of worship stood side by side. The inhabitants of this multi-ethnic city prayed here to the same God and experienced together moments of joy and concern that life brought them. The Jewish community almost vanished during the Second World War, and the synagogue fell victim to a barbaric intervention during the period in which communism was consolidated. Today, where the synagogue stood, There is a memorial dedicated to the victims of the crimes of the war, a memorial of the Holocaust. It is a moot bearer of the message to future generations that evil triumphs when bad persons rise to power and good people do not find the strength or the courage to resist evil. Slovakia is a country that has experienced both. The witnesses of courage and the willingness to risk one's own life are proof that the majority of Slovakians were good men and women. For the Jewish community in Slovakia, today is a turning point, a historic moment, because your steps as Pope have brought you to this place of remembrance of the thousands of lives lost among the members of our community. We greatly appreciate this gesture. The errors of the past must not be forgotten so as never to again be repeated. May this place too convey the message regarding collaboration between Christians and Jews. We have tried to intensify this in the last few years. We have organized many conferences, exhibitions, and conferences on topics that unite us. We are convinced that ongoing communication is the most important principle to guide the development of Jewish-Christian relations. Only through this can a stable and peaceful coexistence become a reality. We hope that the sincerity and willingness for open dialogue might allow us to finally put to rest the dark aspects of this coexistence that affected the relationships between those living in this land 80 years ago during the terrible conflict of the World War. Love of neighbor holds a central place in Christianity as well as in Judaism. If the commandment of love were to be translated into laws and institutions, it would be possible that society would become just. This is what we all want. Love eliminates boundaries. It eliminates reasons for tension. It overcomes conflicts. In Slovakia, we say, love moves mountains. With my beloved wife, we have been an indissoluble Jewish-Christian couple for 3 decades. Our relationship is a small universe built upon mutual esteem, respect, and understanding. I am convinced that harmonious family relationships are capable of assuring stability in society and throughout the entire world. In societies where religious or ethnic affiliation will only be opportunities for reciprocal enrichment and peaceful coexistence.
Dokážu zabezpečiť stabilitu v spoločnostiach všade na svete. V takých spoločnostiach, v ktorých náboženská či etnická príslušnosť bude len a len príležitosťou na vzájomné obohacovanie a mierové spolunažívanie. Ďakujem.
We just heard the greeting of the chairman of the Central Union of Jewish Religious Communities in the Slovak Republic. And we are now hearing a testimony from Professor Lang, a survivor of the Holocaust. Blessed are you who come, he began. It is an extraordinary honor for me to speak before you on the occasion of your precious visit to our country, to speak as a survivor of the Shoah, as a member of the generation that did not know their grandparents and cannot even remember their parents. They are among the 6 million dead. I am from the generation that survived, because there were valiant men and women who did not capitulate before evil, and risking their own lives hid us until we were liberated. I was born in May of 1941. Our family was shattered by the anti-Jewish laws. When I was 3 months old, my father's convoy headed in the direction of the Eastern Front. All trace of him ended there. Only 50 years later did I learn, by looking through archives, that he had died in Ukraine. Fate did not give me the opportunity of saying the Kaddish prayers for the dead over his tomb. My mom remained alone with me. In 1944, they deported her from Budapest on one of the convoys. Those who later returned recounted that she had died somewhere in Germany during the March of the Dead. When I got sick, they brought me to the hospital. The courageous nurses protected me by writing names of infectious diseases on the door of the ward, thus discouraging the armed men from entering. During a bombardment that even hit the hospital, about 15 children and 1 nurse survived.
Počas bombardovania, ktoré zastihlo aj nemocnicu, nás v kryte prežilo asi 15 detí a 1 sestrička. Je mi doživotne ľúto, že som sa jej nemohol neskoršie dopátrať.
I am forever sorry that I was never able later to track down this nurse who saved us and give her a decent thank you. In my case as well, it is true that someone who saves even a single human person is as if they saved the world.
Posledných 20 rokov sa venujem histórii holokaustu.
Through me and the grace of our marriage that has already lasted 55 years, that nurse gave me the possibility of having 2 children and 6 grandchildren. And for the past 20 years, I have dedicated myself to the history of the Shoah in southern Slovakia. I am writing a memoir for the future so that the past might never again be repeated. In the sad history of the Shoah in Slovakia, there is written in huge letters the name of the charge d'affaires in Slovakia at the time, Monsignor Giuseppe Burzio, who tirelessly sought to halt the anti-Semitism of the deadly regime of that time. No Slovak politician at the time so openly opposed the regime. At the same time, allow me to thank you for your generous work, for your personal contribution, and for the humanitarian spirit, fraternity, and tolerance you promote. May you personally and your work be blessed with good health and long life. The third testimony comes from an Ursuline sister. With great trepidation, I find myself here today in this symbolic place in the presence of members of the Christian faithful and the Jewish faithful, with whom we profess the love of the same God. We profess and love the same God. Our common story, our common history is marked by great suffering, but there are also moments that enkindle hope, that in every age there have been persons who deep within their hearts are filled with love toward God and neighbor. We are filled with sincere pride, but also gratitude for every Slovak who opened their doors and their hearts. All the more so because there were also the doors of our monasteries, boarding schools, and the doors of the houses or apartments of our students' families. We are grateful that our sisters, who understood the sacredness of every human being created in the image of God, had the grace to do something to save the lives of these people. The news has been conserved that the sisters were evacuated from Bratislava to a castle in Zvadikric, which was offered to them by Bishop Andrej Skrabik. There they cared for a group of children, among whom there were also Jewish children. This we know from someone who survived. Mr. Thomas Frankel, who lives in Vienna, and who gladly told us about this. Another testimony comes from Mrs. Gabriela Karin, an artist who lives in Los Angeles, and from Mrs. Erika Branikova, who lives in Bratislava. Both were students of the Ursuline Sisters College in downtown Bratislava. They were hidden there together with other Jewish girls. Their parents would come every day to visit them until they could find a hiding place for the entire family or until someone helped them escape from Bratislava. It is symbolic that today the Apostolic Nunciature is located in another place where the sisters hid other Jewish children together with their families. The already mentioned Mrs. Banzakova had brought a young mother, Edith Schwartz, there, together with her 1.5-year-old daughter and later her friend, Frida Haselnusova. The events I am recounting happened almost 80 years ago. Today, we are happy to note that there is a vibrant collaboration between Jews and Christians in Slovakia, not only among those in leadership in academic institutions, biblical scholars, but even among people in their daily lives. We are grateful above all for the educational projects directed toward young people through which those who teach in our schools try to sensitize the present generation to have a deeper awareness and appreciation of the Jewish cultural inheritance in Slovakia. At the same time, we hope to transmit a lively faith in God to our young people that will be manifested through love for neighbor in daily life. Our esteem, gratitude, and prayer go also to more than 500 Slovaks, both those who are known and those who are unknown, and to their families who contributed in various ways to the salvation of even one single person. We've now heard 3 different greeting and 2 testimonies here at Rybné námestie Square. Our Holy Father will now speak to those gathered here in this place that is a memorial both of the Shoah and the synagogue that stood here until it was destroyed in 1969 under the communist regime.
Buonasera.
Dear brothers and sisters, good afternoon. I thank you for your kind words of welcome and for the testimonies you have offered. I have come as a pilgrim to visit this place and to be moved by it. This square where we are right now is highly meaningful for your community. It keeps alive the memory of a rich history for centuries. It was part of the Jewish quarter. Here the celebrated Rabbi Shatam Sofer labored. Here, a synagogue stood alongside the Cathedral of the Coronation. The architectural setting, as we heard, was an expression of the peaceful coexistence of the two communities, an unusual and evocative symbol, and a striking sign of unity in the name of God, in the name of the God of our fathers. Here, like so many of them, I too feel the desire to remove my sandals, because I find myself in a place blessed by human fraternity in the name of the Most High. Later on, however, God's name was dishonored. In a frenzy of hatred during the Second World War, more than 100,000 Slovak Jews were killed. In an effort to eradicate every trace of the community, the synagogue was demolished. It is written, "You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain." The divine name, the Lord Himself, is blasphemed whenever the unique and distinctive dignity of the human person created in His image is violated. Here, in this place, the name of God was dishonored, for the worst form of blasphemy is to exploit it for our own purposes, refusing to respect and love others. Here, reflecting on the history of the Jewish people, marked by this tragic affront to the Most High, we admit with shame how often His ineffable name has been used for unspeakable acts of inhumanity. How many oppressors have said, "God is with us," yet it was they who were not with God. Dear brothers and sisters, your history is our history. Your sufferings are our sufferings. For some of you, this memorial of the Shoah is the only place where you can honor the memory of your loved ones. I join with you in this. The word sekor, remember, is inscribed in Hebrew on this memorial. Memory cannot and must not give way to forgetfulness, for there will be no lasting dawn of fraternity unless we have first shared and dispelled the darkness of the night. For us too, the prophet's question echoes, "Watchman, what of the night?" Now is the time when the image of God, shining forth in humanity, must no longer be obscured. Let us help one another in this effort, for in our days too, so many empty and false idols still dishonor the name of the Most High, the idols of power and money that prevail over human dignity, a spirit of indifference that looks the other way, forms of manipulation that would exploit religion in the service of power, or else reduce it to irrelevance. But also forgetfulness of the past, ignorance, prepared to justify anything, anger and hatred. I repeat, let us unite in condemning all violence and every form of anti-Semitism, and in working to ensure that God's image, present in the humanity He created, will never be profaned. This square, dear brothers and sisters, is also a place where the light of hope shines forth. Each year, you come here during Hanukkah to light the first lamp on the menorah. Darkness is thus dispelled by the message that destruction and death do not have the last word, but rather renewal and life. Though the synagogue on this site was torn down, the community remains present, a community alive and open to dialogue. In this place, our histories meet once more. Here, let us affirm together before God our willingness to persevere on the path of rapprochement and friendship. And regarding this, I have vivid memories of my 2017 meeting in Rome with the representatives of the Jewish and Christian communities. I am pleased to say that afterwards, a commission for dialogue with the Catholic Church was established, and that together several significant documents have been published. It is good to share and make known the things that unite us, and it is good to advance in truth and honesty along the fraternal path of a purification of memory, to heal past wounds, and to remember the good received and offered. According to the Talmud, whoever destroys a single individual destroys the whole world, while whoever saves a single individual saves the whole world. Every individual matters, and what you are doing through your important exchanges matters greatly. I thank you for the doors you have opened on both sides. Our world needs open doors. They are signs of blessing for humanity. God said to our father Abraham, "By you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed." This is a recurring theme throughout the lives of the patriarchs. To Jacob, Israel, God said, "Your descendants shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And by you and your descendants shall all the families of the earth be blessed." Here in this land of Slovakia, a land of encounter between east and west, north and south, may the family of the children of Israel continue to foster this vocation, the summons to be a sign of blessing for all the families of the earth. The blessing of the Most High may the blessing of the Most High be poured out upon us whenever He sees a family of brothers and sisters who respect and love each other and work together. May the Almighty bless you, so that amid all the discord that defiles our world, you may always be together, witnesses of peace.
Shalom.
Our Holy Father addressing the Jewish community here gathered at Rybné námestie Square.
Excelencia, pápež František, dovoľte, aby som vás pozval zapáliť sviečky ako na pamiatku obeti Shoah.
The chairman has invited the Holy Father to light a candle in honor of the victims of the Shoah. Everyone has raised to their feet, and our Holy Father is now heading toward candles that have been prepared here in the square. There are 2 candles here we see, so one is now being lit by Pope Francis and one is being lit by the chairman of the Jewish community here, Richard Duda.
יש מרבו מורח לעולם ולעולמיו יסבורך, ישתבח, יספואר, ישרוימם, יסנסה, יסחדור, יסחלה, יסחלול, shme dikucho.
The community is now reciting the prayer for the dead, the Kaddish, in Hebrew.
Nechemozo da miron bolmo imru omen. Yeshlomo rabo min shmayo chaim oleinu al kol Israel imru omen.
This prayer here recited by Professor Jorash Stern, a Holocaust survivor.
Shalom oleinu al kol Israel ve'imru omen.
Mole rachamim shoychein b'meroyamim hametzei menucha nechoyna al kanefei hashechinu במעלויס קדושים וטהורים כזויר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים לנשמות 6 מיליוני אחינו בני ישראל, אנשים, נשים, ילדים וילדות שנהרגו, שנשחטו, שנשרפו ושנדבחו ושנקברו חיים בידי הנאצים ועוזריהם יימח שמם באושוויץ, מיידנק, טרבלינקה, מאוטהאוזן ובשאר מחנות ההשמדה בארצות אירופה. ומסרו נפשם על קידוש השם בעבור שאנו מספללים, שאנו מספללים להילוי נשמותיהם. לכן בעל רחמים יסירם בססר כנפיו ליבוא אלומים ויצרו ביצרו רחיים נשמותיהם בגן עדן, בגן עדן, בגן עדן מנוחסם אדוני ונחלו וינוחו ושלום על משכבם ונאמר אמן.
The hymn we've heard chanted is the prayer that is prayed during funeral ceremonies and when Jewish people visit their dead. at their tombs. We also heard the names of the various concentration camps mentioned. We pause here too in silence, uniting ourselves with the pain of this Jewish community. Of the 15,000 Jews who lived here in Bratislava, only about 3,500 survived the Holocaust. About 105,000 Jews from Slovakia perished in the Holocaust. The roots of the Jewish community here go back to the early 1200s. Now our Holy Father presenting his gift. It's a depiction of St. Peter, the statue that is on the facade of St. Peter's Basilica. It's a ceramic of the famous type of ceramic made in Sicily. Our Holy Father now also giving a rosary to the wife of the chairman of the Jewish Union here, whom we heard during his discourse is Christian. Our Holy Father now greeting other members of the Jewish community here as well. Our Holy Father, we may remember, paid another visit to a Holocaust memorial site. In July of 2016, he paid an emotional visit to the Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial and Museum, the site of the Nazi concentration and extermination camp, where more than 1.1 million people, mostly Jews, were put to death in Poland. He wanted that trip to be one made in silence. He had said prior that I would like to go to that place of horror without speeches, without crowds, alone to enter and pray. And he also said, may the Lord give me the grace to cry. And I think at this point we can all, having heard these testimonies and seeing this community here, some of whom are descendants of Bratislava's Jewish population, but also survivors. Here we see the professor who provided the first testimony and the Ursuline sister providing the testimony of what the women religious did to save members of the Jewish community at the risk of their own lives. Holy Father greeting the professor now who provided the first testimony. And we now end this live broadcast where we've been coming to you from Rybné Námestie Square in Bratislava, where Holy Father Pope Francis has just concluded his meeting with the Jewish community here on his second day of his 34th apostolic journey to Budapest and Slovakia. Pope Francis will now head back to the Apostolic Nunciature, where he will receive the President of the National Council of the Slovak Republic, Mr. Boris Kolar, followed by the Prime Minister, Mr. Edward Heger. And we will be back to continue our coverage of our Holy Father's apostolic journey tomorrow, Tuesday. The first televised event begins at 10 o'clock Central European Time. Pope Francis will preside over the Byzantine Divine Liturgy in Prešov on the Feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross. We'll be back with you then. We hope you can join us. But we do invite you also to visit the Vatican News web portal, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube accounts. You'll find complete coverage of our Holy Father's apostolic visit, as well as other Vatican and world news. Special thanks go to Alessandro De Carolis, who's been coordinating all of us, as well as our audio technician Adriano Vitali, as well as others who've made this broadcast possible. But thank you to all of you too for joining us. Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praised be Jesus Christ.
Thank you very much. Thank you.